Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone had a great Thursday. It is September 12th, 2024. The time now is 9:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Today, we're going to be talking about a little document that was, I guess, declassified. And in the CIA vault, where it talks about psychoenergetic research. This is part of the umbrella of the SRI International, which is the Stanford Research Institute. And of course, the CIA and some of these universities were involved and are still involved in these type of programs and research. And this is basically a release from 1978 where it talks about psychoenergetic, how to manipulate. I guess they were researching how you can manipulate individuals, electronics with the mind. They were researching how to disrupt computer systems, as they are still doing that today. So let's get into the executive summary. The recent research in both Western and Soviet bloc countries continues to provide mounting evidence for the existence of so-called parapsychological and psychoenergetic processes. These include, number one, the acquisition and descriptions by mental means. So, by using your mind, can you get information? Mental means of information blocked from ordinary perception by distance or shielding, and generally believed to be secure against such access. So, they want to see if a psychic or a clairvoyant or whatever other name you want to call people that have these abilities, if they can get information from so-called protected, supposedly protected, um, offices or locations. Two, the production of physical effects such as perturbation of instrumentation or equipment that appears to be well shielded against such interactions. Uh, so usually, Satanists are very well versed in this stuff, meaning they use energy to cause problems, disruption. It's usually to an individual, so a body, a flesh, but they can also use their abilities because the entities that they conjure up amplifies their abilities. They can disrupt computers. It's basically all energetic. They can disrupt computers. They can disrupt your devices. They can disrupt your body. They can cause problems with, your cell phones, your laptops. And I know about this because I've been surrounded by these people, and I myself have been able to do these things to those doing it, against me. This document identifies and discusses key areas of psychoenergetic research, and it indicates those areas for experimentation and analysis most likely to provide answers to critical questions. And you can also eavesdrop. Many of these parapsychology psychics are able to put thoughts in your head. They can put images in your head. They can, attack you energetically, like your organs. Uh, they can cause or try to cause psychosis. This is besides using entities, like conjuring up demons or spirits. They can do this with their mind. They can cause psychosis in an individual. They can make them hear voices. And this is all real. This is part of the energetic field. So this document identifies and discusses key areas of psychoenergetic research and indicates those areas for experimentation and analysis most likely to provide answers to critical questions. An appropriate research program should include the following action items: catalog the characteristics of the phenomenon, such as resolution, reliability, bit rate, effects of shielding, etc., including investigation of various models, e.g., electromagnetic. Ascertain those correlates of paranormal functioning, which may lead to screening and training, psychological conditions, medical profiling, environmental factors, etc. Determine application potential with regard to alternate communication systems, enhance environmental monitoring near and far, information security processes, enhanced man machine interactions, etc. It is recommended that a research program be initiated with the SRI, which is the Stanford Research Institute, along the lines indicated in this document. It is further recommended that the SRI, as the major contractor, serve a dual function. One, carry out the major portions of the contracted R&D efforts. Two, host interagency and intercontractor conferences to consolidate available resources and information. And then here's a table of contents. What is their objective? Characteristics. The characteristics are A, remote viewing reliability and enhancement coding, role of feedback in remote viewing, a role of consciousness, computer controlled experiments, tracking of targets in motion, a measurement of accuracy and as a function of repetition rate, analysis mechanisms, theoretical studies, ELF experiments, which is extremely low frequency waves experiments, which deal in electromagnetic radiation, which we all can generate. Electromagnetic radiation that fall within the range of 1 to 300 hertz. This can be produced naturally. Humans can produce this, or it can be done artificially with technology. The natural effects could be through like lightning, thunderstorms, or you generating that type of energy. Subject-induced equipment perturbation effects, strain gauge experiments, random number generator experiments, magnetometer experiments, psychophysiological correlates, physiological measures for PSI conducive states, environmental factors, which are altered states of consciousness, special environments, examine the part played by the experimenter. They have educational procedures. They do the screening. They explored training and techniques with children. This is very common for them to use children in these experiments. This was also part of the MK Ultra experiments and the sub MKs. They always use children because I believe it's because children are still open to the other dimensions at at that young age. They're able to see through other dimensions, and they're able to see other energies that grown-ups can't see. So the training techniques with children, the blind, and other special subjects, distance experiments with identical twins. This sounds exactly what the Nazis were doing in South America. Central and South America. They were doing a lot of experimentation with twins. I believe it was it in Chile, or I think it was in Chile. I'm don't hold me to that. But the Nazis, the ones that escaped after the war, they were doing a lot of experimentation with twins. Training is a perceptual task, paralleling ordinary perception, training in abstract targeting, including geographical coordinates, priorities and recommendations. The introduction is this document we've summarized and discussed key areas of psychoenergetic research. We deal with both the known and the unknown in an effort to identify those research areas most likely to answer critical questions. No attempt is made to present evidence or data to support existence of psychoenergetic phenomenon. Data supporting the existence of the phenomenon can be found in the documents listed in the reference section at the end of the paper. Recent publications provide mounting evidence for the existence of so-called parapsychological or paraphysical processes. These processes are taken to include the following. 1. The acquisition and description by mental means of information blocked from ordinary perception by distance or shielding and generally believed to be secure against such access. Hold on, guys. Two, the production of physical effects such as the perturbation of instrumentation or equipment that appear to be well shielded against such interactions. The literature also indicates evidence of an acceleration of research in both Western and Soviet bloc countries in an effort to precipitate a breakthrough. In the West, a large scale exploratory research effort on psychoenergetic channels has been carried, but by the authors in the Electronics and Bioengineering Laboratory and the Radiophysics Laboratory of SRI International. Our work dealt with primarily with a human information accessing capability that we call quote unquote remote viewing. This phenomenon pertains to the ability of a certain individuals to access and describe by means of mental processes remote geographical locations up to several thousand kilometers distant from their physical location. In more than 50 experiments with roughly a dozen subjects, including government scientists sent to examine experimental protocols, significant results were obtained in the viewing of remote buildings, laboratory apparatus, and real-time activities. From this work, we conclude that 1. The phenomenon is not a sensitive function of distance over a range of several kilometers and is still operative over a range of several thousand kilometers. 2. A Faraday cage electrical shielding does not appear to degrade the quality or accuracy of the perception. 3. Most of the correct information pertains to shape, form, color, and material rather than to function or name, suggesting that the function may be mediated primarily by the brain's right hemisphere. 4. The principal difference between experienced subjects and inexperienced volunteers is not that the latter do not exhibit the faculty, but rather their results are simply less reliable, indicating that remote viewing may be a latent and widely distributed, though suppressed perceptual ability. So that means everyone has it. Everyone can develop this ability. 5. Subjects trained over a several year period have shown improved performance under continuing experiments. 6. Clear evidence has been obtained showing that subjects in laboratory experiments can describe future events not yet determined at the time of their description. The breadth of the work in this area of research in the Soviet Union and the Czechoslovakia is detailed in a recent document prepared by the U.S. Army Medical Intelligence and Information Agency. In this document, it is pointed out that beginning with the early work of the 1930s in the laboratory of L. Vasiliev, which is in Leningrad Institute for Brain Research, Soviet efforts in the area of paranormal functioning have concentrated on behavior modification and control, e.g., putting people into a trance at a distance through hypnosis. Actually, this is true. And I'm only speaking about this from experience. There are people that have been training in the military, whatever military. I've dealt with U.S. military type of psychics. People that have been training around the world in militaries. And this is besides the occultists. They have their own thing too, where they train their high priest and warlocks and all that, how to do this stuff. They can hypnotize somebody. They can, I won't call it hypnotized. They can send energy over 1,000 miles away. You can be, let's say I'm down here in Florida, they can be in California. They can concentrate on an individual and send energy. And if they're in a group, let's say a coven, they can generate enough energy to target an individual to put them either in a confused state or in a suggestive state from a distance. I know this is possible because attempts have been made over the last 8 years on myself. This is, I guess you can say in the scientific community, you can mind over matter. Occultists do this. So that they're mentioning here in this document, it's correct. So the Soviets were working on the paranormal functioning and were concentrated on behavior modification and control, e.g., putting people into a trance at a distance through hypnosis. This is in contrast to the Western orientation toward remote data acquisition. Also, apparently, in keeping with their ideology, the Soviets' work is strongly oriented towards the physical aspects of the channel, such as determining the propagation mechanisms involved. Indeed, some of the best theoretical work has been done by Soviet researcher I. Kogan in his investigation of extremely low frequency electromagnetic hypothesis. A study by Garrett Air Search, a review of the Soviet literature on psychoenergetic research, treats Soviet application of statistical theories, research done on electrostatics, the development of remote sensors, hypothesized carrier mechanisms, human sensitivity to magnetic fields and training to improve psychoenergetic performance. Also, before I continue, they are also able, okay, so I'm talking about the US government. US government has directed energy weapons, okay? So we have electronics that can affect the body, the mind, can do many things, right? There's a huge umbrella under the directed energy weapon. But what people don't understand, because everybody, they don't like to dabble into the spiritual aspect of this. Psychics, you call them psychic soldiers. Psychic soldiers have the ability to do the same thing as a directed energy weapon minus the laser stuff. They have the ability to do most of the directed energy weapon actions, minus, again, stuff that deal with like lasers and that type of stuff. But electromagnetics, they can cause a lot of harm to flesh, to computers. They're able to do this. So let's hear. And not only are they able to do that, they're also able to oscillate your brain waves. We have machines that can oscillate your brain waves, change your wave patterns to think what they want you to think, and human psychics can do the same. If they're powerful enough, they can themselves, this is what the hypnotic suggestion, linguistics, and they can send energy your way to your third eye. Okay. I've had people try to do this to me, to your third eye, to try and get you thinking in a different pattern, in a different way. This is what they do. So it continues, the human sensitivity to magnetic fields and training to improve psychoenergetic performance. Garrett concludes that the Soviet bloc has had and probably still has an active interest and vigorous research program in this area. The above reports point to the increasing importance of psychoenergetic area in Soviet research, an importance underlined in 1973 when the Soviet Psychological Association issued an unprecedented position paper calling on the Soviet Academy of Science to step up their efforts in this area. The association recommended that the newly formed Psychological Institute within the Soviet Academy of Sciences and the Psychological Institute of the Academy of Pedagogical Sciences review the area and consider the creation of a new laboratory within one of the institutes to study persons with unusual abilities. It also recommended a comprehensive evaluation of experiments and theory by the Academy of Sciences in the Institute of Biophysics and Institute for the Problems of Information Transmission. Carol Rosen from that worked in, I forgot if it was Fairchild Industries. She talks about how Werner von Braun used to speak to her in her head from his hospital bed. So we were already working on this because the Nazis were working on it in the 40s. We were already working on this in the 50s and 60s. Two more recent classified reports issued in 1977 also provide detailed analysis of the scope, direction, and distribution of the Soviet and East Bloc research in psychoenergetics. These reports in no way contradict the data and conclusions presented in the unclassified literature, which they are intended to supplement. In this document, we concentrate on those areas of psychoenergetic research that, in our judgment, need to be addressed to provide answers to critical questions. Table 1 and 2 represent a matrix or a quote-unquote roadmap of the various areas of interest and indicate the type of experimentation that needs to be done in each area. Table 1 represents a breakdown of the various psychoenergetic processes. The two main classifications are perceptual processes, which act as information input to a human subject. So I will repeat that again. Perceptual processes, which act as information input to a human subject, remote viewing, telepathy, dowsing, etc. Perturbation, which is that's something that the occultists used a lot. Psychonetics, meaning they bombard you with energy. I don't know if, whoever's following, I don't know if you've ever had an experience where something or someone that knows how to use energy work can make your body move. They bounce energy against you, either to confuse you, to stop you from going a particular direction, or to disrupt the train of thought. There's many people that are capable of doing this nowadays. That's why, I tell people that you have to pray to make your human magnetic field powerful to deflect any attacks. It's not just demonic attacks. It's not just spirits attacking you. Now humans, as you can see here, military that are specifically training hours on end to be able to do these things, now they're capable of doing this to individuals, unsuspecting individuals. So the psychokinetic processes, which act as an output control from a human subject, generation, so they're generating fields, temperature changes, mechanical forces, and physiological effects. Table 2 indicates the various action item areas for experimentation and analysis. It identifies 3 areas of activity. Let me repeat this again. Perturbation or psychokinetic processes which act as an output control from a human subject. Generation of fields, temperature changes, mechanical forces, physiological effects. Table 2 indicates the various action items for experimentation and analysis. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a printout. It talks about the breakdown of the various psychoenergetic processes. One is perceptual processes, which is information input, gathering information with your mind. Spatial, which is remote viewing, being able to see wherever your target is or whatever it is that you're looking for. Temporal, which is precognition or retro recognition. And then it gets into animate, in telepathy or medical diagnosis, meaning a person can either visualize you or look into your body and see if you have any conditions. Inanimate, clairvoyance, dowsing, psychometry, temporal history. Then they get into the perturbation processes, action output or output control. Animate, remote behavior modification, so they can change your behavior without you even knowing, or forcefully, brute force, change your behavior. Remote physiological perturbation, healing, so they can heal you from a remote distance. If they can heal you, they can hurt you. Inanimate, random processes, direct processes, classical noise distribution, electronic noise, Brownian motion, etc. Quantum mechanical statistical distribution, radioactive decay, 0 point fluctuations, etc. And then the directed processes are field generation, so they generate electricity, electric, magnetic, gravitational, etc. They can change temperature, mechanical forces. Then they get into another part where it says action item areas for research in psychoenergetics. The experimentation and analysis of psychoenergetic processes are the characteristic analysis and theory, mechanism independent analysis, information theory, coding, and then they talk, the bit rate, redundancy, message transmission, judging techniques, psychophysics, which is analogs to ordinary perception, perceptual task paralleling ordinary perception, brain hemisphere spatialization or localization, mechanisms, strain, gauge experiments, noise, perturbation, radioactive decay, electronic noise, electric magnetics, extreme low frequency beacons, jamming. That's another thing psychics can do. They can jam devices. Submersible shielding, propagation velocity, quantum mechanics, multidimensional, non-locality, quantum interconnectedness, and holographic. Multidimensional could be complex space and time. So you start getting into you can go into like astral projection or like me, I disassociate whenever one of these people are attacking. You can leave your body and watch your body. Spatial and temporal resolution, target size, repetition rate, targets in motion. Reliability, subject confidence, coding and enhancement, targeting, geographic coordinates, biographical histories, target agent, electronic information storage, shielding, electromagnetic and other Role of consciousness, computer controlled and scored versus human mediated experiments. Role of feedback, psychological factors, precognitive mechanisms. And then they have the application potential, enhance environmental information monitoring, application potential, enhanced environmental information monitoring, alternate communication capabilities. Synthetic telepathy is the technology that can be used. Psychics use telepathy, right? Generation of additional information security processes, enhance human to machine interactions, uh, creation of new industrial components, new application systems, technology, and energy economics, potential application to satellite and interplanetary communications, alternate alternate medical and psychological treatment strategies. So, if you ever heard of the New Age movement, a lot of people do like alternative medical healing. You have the production of new educational methods. And then they get into catalog the characteristics of the phenomenon, such as resolution, reliability, bitrate, effects of shielding, etc., including investigation of various models, electromagnetic. Ascertain those correlates of paranormal functioning, which may lead to screening and training in psychological conditions, medical profiling, environmental factors. Determine application potential with regard to alternate communication systems, enhance environmental monitoring near and far, application to information security processes, enhanced man-machine interactions, etc. Now, what I will tell you is when an individual is a target, depending on who's targeting you, whether it's the military is targeting you, intelligence agency is targeting you, or whether it's Satanists, Luciferians, or other cults like in Hinduism and brujeria and all that. When they target you, um, there's so many things that they can do. Okay, one of the targeting that they do to unsuspecting people. I was already aware of this stuff, so that's why I was able to deal with these types. They went they went from 0 to 1,000 with me, and they couldn't accomplish their whole plan. But for unsuspecting people, you can cause quote unquote schizophrenia very easily to unsuspecting non spiritually protected people. What I'm going to talk about the Satanists, what the Satanists or the Luciferians, and pretty much most people in the military that are practicing this stuff, they're basically Satanists or Luciferians. When they target you, they can cause schizophrenia. How they do this is if it's one person, a soldier that's specifically targeting an individual, they can speak as they can do with directed energy weapons, voice to skull. Okay, they can do this in the energetics, we call spiritual side. They can sit there, meditate, and attack an individual's mind and put voices in their head and speak. If this person is determined to drive this other person insane, they will sit there and speak to their mind, attack the body, put thoughts in their mind, put voices in their head, and it could be a constant stream of the psychic attacking the other person. The way they like to do it is they gather in a group, usually probably a group of 5 to 15, depending on if it's a coven or if it's just a regular a group that does this. They gather in a circle, and if it's a Satanist, they'll do incantations or mantras or whatever. They'll read whatever they read, and then they start targeting the specific, they energetically target specifically the person that they want to target. And again, once you're tied to these individuals, once they make contact with you, however they make contact with you, it's very hard for them to let go. Meaning for you to, if you don't have a protection, spiritual protection, it's very hard for you to be disconnected from these people. Uh, the majority of them use blood to tie the frequency in, right? They use sacrifice to tie you in that frequency. The military is doing it one way. The spiritual folks are doing it another. Once they got your frequency, whether it's mathematically, scientifically, or spiritually, it's very hard for you to break away from that. What I will tell folks that don't believe in the stuff, you better believe in prayer and meditation through prayer, or prayer through meditation, or whatever. You better believe in that, because that does protect you from, what people call the evil eye, uh, speak no evil. Basically, the speak no evil. When someone speaks evil, it's an energy that comes out, which is tied to the evil eye. These are real things. And if a person knows how to use it, just like linguistics, programming, they can do a lot of damage. And many people don't understand when someone tells you that you can manifest something into being, or you can I'm speaking right now and somebody sent something to my room. Something just arrived in my room. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to tell you guys. When you speak something that has a vibration, your tone has a vibration, and it goes out, and whatever the intention is, whatever your intention in speaking those words, or generating that energy that comes out of you, that goes out into the field. Okay? Our military, our scientific community that is in the know, that's not for the public, they understand this. They understand vibration, they understand frequency, they understand the electromagnetic spectrum, how to tune into a person's own, vibrational frequency. They already have this down packed. They've been researching this since Project Paperclip. And it's unfortunate that the public doesn't believe. But the military and the scientific community that is researching this stuff takes this extremely serious. You have to understand this. So where was I? Okay, they ascertain those correlates of paranormal functioning, which may lead to the screening and training of psychological conditions, medical profiling, environmental factors, etc. Determine application potential with regard to alternate communication systems, enhanced environmental monitoring near and far, application to information security processes, enhanced man-machine interfaces. Section 2 of this document lists knowns and unknowns about items in the table. Section 3 summarizes research strategies for handling the specific areas. The section presents our priorities and recommendations. Known and unknowns in psychoenergetic research. The following pages provide a brief description of what is known and unknown about the psychoenergetic processes shown in the tables. The discussion under each heading is not intended to be an exhaustive treatment of the subject, but rather serves as a brief listing of salient points. Remote viewing characteristics. Known. Abilities appear widespread, though latent. Results are insensitive to distance and shielding. They're insensitive to shape, form, color, material. Material are described better than analytical concepts, function and name. The unknowns. Extent to which a subject can improve spatial and temporal resolution, accuracy of the process, upper limit to bit rate, ability to track targets in motion, whether and to what extent psychoenergetic processes can be amplified by technological means. Again, this paper is from 1970, I forgot, 73 to 78. Target acquisition, the knowns. Subject can acquire a target site on the basis of presence of cooperative agent at the site, targeting biogeographical coordinates without agent. The unknown. What is necessary for the target acquisition? Names, maps, pictures, other coordinate systems, accuracy of the target acquisition, e.g., circular error of probability, how subject identifies target. Other sensory modalities, known. In addition to visually observable detail, subjects sometimes report sounds, smells, electromagnetic fields, etc., at the targeted location or target's location. The unknown, the accuracy of these sensory modalities, other sensory modes available. So basically, the remote viewer, psychic, clairvoyant, whoever, whatever, is able to smell, be in the area as if they were there. They can smell, they can sense, they can hear the sounds. Time of flight, knowns. I don't understand why they say time of flight. I guess it's the person maybe leaves their body, is what they're trying to say, or the person astral projects. They just say time of flight. Known information access often appears to be available in essentially real time. The unknown, time of flight of psychoenergetic phenomenon, the mechanism of propagation. Precognitive remote viewing, the known. Some subjects report precognitive perception of future events. So, they can see future events happening. Laboratory experiments verify access to information up to an hour in the future. The unknowns, limit to forward temporal distance of the phenomenon. Basic mechanisms involved, event time accuracy, especially as a function of temporal distance. The mechanisms, theoretical models. The knowns are phenomenon characteristics, which are relative, independence of distance, shielding, temporal order, often appear to be at a variance with present scientific models. The unknowns, mechanisms responsible for the phenomenon or the phenomena, relationship of the phenomena to electromagnetic, quantum, etc., basis of present scientific understanding, a degree to which phenomena can be mechanized, energy stored. Random number generators. Subjects appear to induce perturbations in the output of noise and nuclear decay driven random number generators. The unknowns, to what extent this process can be stabilized, mechanisms responsible for this type of interaction. The magnetometers, temperature devices, and pendulums. The knowns, past experiments indicate possible psychoenergetic interaction with these devices. The knowns and then the unknowns are repeatability of phenomenon, limits to the magnitude of effects, other types of devices capable of registering such interactions, nuclear decay, gravitational neutrino, Bosmeyer effects, mechanisms responsible. The EM, which is the electromagnetic effects, the knowns are subjects can sense certain electromagnetic parameters, which is frequency, i.e., color, presence, absence of electromagnetic noise, extreme low frequency. Models can account for certain parameters of psychoenergetic functioning, low bit rate relative independence of distance and shielding. Like basically what I just told you a few minutes ago, where I felt a presence come into the room, is basically what this is. Subjects that can sense frequency or i.e. color, presence, or absence of the electromagnetic noise. The unknowns are to what extent, if any, do the electromagnetic mechanisms play a role, efficacy of extremely low frequency generators for targeting, jamming, effectiveness of shielding obtainable by deep diving submersibles, physiological correlates, knowns, the physiological measures such as brainwave activity, galvanic skin response, blood volume, blood volume sometimes correlate with psychoenergetic effects. The unknown, stability of such correlations, coupling mechanisms involved. The training, the knowns are widespread latent abilities observed in the population, decline effect with certain types of experiments. Many SRI subjects have improved with practice, evidence for trainability. The unknowns, the extent to which remote viewing ability can be taught to the novice subjects, what enables good subjects to enhance their ability, significance of environmental factors, effects of experimenter psychology, percentage of population trainable, optimum screening test profiling methods. The application potential, the knowns, low bit rate communication via psychoenergetic processes possible, low level perturbation of equipments observable, low level physiological effects probable, the unknowns, optimum system design for and degree to which competitive, applications in environmental information monitoring, communications, security, machine control, component design and mechanization, energy storage, medical and physiological or psychological diagnosis and treatment strategies and education. Research approaches, the objective. The objective is a comprehensive program to propose that is based on information derived from SRI experiments or experimentation and the documented work of others. The goals of the program are twofold: to establish the repeatability of the psychoenergetic process and the statistics that govern its usefulness for various applications. Two, to determine the underlying physical characteristics of the channel, such as a bit rate, channel capacity, and resolution potential. The characteristic analysis and theory, remote viewing reliability enhancement. One of the most successful psychoenergetic processes is the remote viewing of a target location or locations demarcated by some means, such as the presence at the site of the individual known to the quote unquote viewer. Unfortunately, this process, which works so well, results in narrative description that is difficult to assess in a quantitative manner. In order to utilize the remote sensing phenomena as a tool to investigate the physical and psychological parameters of psychoenergetic processes, it is important to establish optimum analysis judging procedures, because experiments are designed with the goal of varying specific parameters, such as subject shielding or the necessity of feedback. The analysis or judging procedure must be as rapid as possible, while retaining objectivity if immediate feedback to both subject and experimenters is to be provided. To objectify the analysis of a single response from a subject during a remote sensing experiment, it is necessary to quantify the target content in some discrete way. From an examination of the database accumulated to date, it would appear that at least 5 recurrent target attributes are frequently sensed correctly by our subjects. If each of these attributes is assigned a binary digit, a 1, if the attribute is present at the target site, and 0 if it is absent, we can, for the sake of research experimentation, construct a pool of 32 targets corresponding to all possible combinations of 5 individual attribute bits. And then it gives you the code word, the target attribute, and then the bit assignment. A judging procedure utilizes the binary code target pool is then as follows. After a target is selected at random, and after the subject has registered his response in the usual way, the judge's task is simply to ascertain from the subject's response whether each of the 5 attributes is present, 1 or 0. The resulting 5-bit number is then compared to the actual 5-bit number for the target. In the case of good functioning, it is possible to obtain statistically significant results with 1 or 2 such trials. From the pilot work, it appears that the individual attributes are identified with an 80% reliability. Thus, the results indicate that this judging procedure may provide a rapid and accurate technique to use remote sensing as a tool to test various models of psychoenergetic functioning. So, the CIA Vault has a lot of these documents. Very interesting. If you don't think that our agencies and labs and our government institutions are not using this, I hate to tell you, they are. They use this on a daily basis. Yeah, they're not going to tell the public. They say, oh, we don't have access to this. We're not dealing with this. We tried something. They'll do movies like, Men That Stare at Goats. I think that was one of the movies, Men That Stare at Goats. But in reality, we have been since Roswell, since World War II, after World War II, we have been experimenting on how to have the advantage in war. And this right here is a major advantage of war. Not only do you have, let's say, this is what you call super soldiers, right? Not only do you use actual material or medication or gene editing or gene DNA enhancement, but you add that the spiritual, or I call it the spiritual component, but in science they call it the energetic component, right? The scientific, energetic, electromagnetic component. You have super soldiers. That's what you have. Physically, spiritually, I mean, I won't say spiritually, because if they're dabbling in the dark, in the Aleister Crowley type stuff, it's dark energy. You have them spiritually strong, mentally strong, right? Because the mind is also used in this for having, a powerful, target. Spiritually, mentally, physically. You have your super soldiers and enhanced DNA. So imagine this. Imagine Jason Bourne. Okay? Imagine a Jason Bourne with the ability to spiritually engage in warfare. Or psychological, that's why it's, psychological warfare, energetic warfare, or psychoenergetic warfare. That's a dangerous human being. And I can tell you from what I've seen in the astral plane, they've been engaging in creating and molding individuals in this capacity. So for the general public that doesn't believe in this, you better start believing, because we're going into these times where your mind, your spirit, I've been saying this since 2016, 2015. You need to get your mind right. You need to get your spirit right. You need to get strong, spiritually, mentally, and physically, because this is what you're going to have to be dealing with. Hey, Maven, how you doing? If you missed the beginning, make sure you go back to the beginning so you can get the full experience of this document. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. This is what I'm going to be doing, just reading documents after documents. I'm no longer, and I'll throw in a few visual stuff, but from now on, I'm just going to read documents that are interesting to me and that you should be aware about. You should be aware about these things. I'm going to concentrate on my most favorite subjects: the universe, the cosmos, spirituality, and this. All right, guys, if you want to support, the link's in the description. I'll be back tomorrow with something interesting. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, bring your friends over. I'm going to be here every night, mostly every night at 9 with these nuggets of stories and documents. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.